All right, you guys ready for your featured closer tonight? Yeah! All right, let's keep it going for your last comedian tonight. Give it up for Matt Houston!
What is up, Remedy? So how about Thomas Friday, huh?
Hello. Thank you for being quiet. My name's Thomas.
He is actually Native American, but I don't want you to be alarmed. The only thing savage about him are his autistic hard resets on stage. Billy Campbell, right? He kind of looks like a brunette Carrot Top, except somehow he's uglier than Carrot Top. I don't know. So, I saw an article in the news a little while back, about a month ago, super sad. Taylor Hawkins died, the drummer from the Foo Fighters. Super sad, right? But I don't know what's more sad about this situation. The fact that this guy died knowing that he was the second best drummer of that band. Or that David Grohl has now driven two of his band members to suicide. To be fair, it was a drug overdose. But who dies of drug overdose? You know, just young and dumb people or homeless people that have nothing to lose. This guy was 50 years old, right? And he had a net worth of $20 million. What does that say about him? I think maybe he just couldn't get over the shock that COVID is officially over. I think that was it. The rest of us were pretty happy about it, right? Not about the death, about the COVID, right? COVID's over. No more masks. This is good. Back in the height of the pandemic, I had to take my kids over to a testing site for COVID. And it was one of those drive-up ones. It was super efficient. They had me drive up into this barn. It's like a completely enclosed building, small opening to come in and out. And I drive up in there. There's like 9 other vehicles in there. I noticed that they're all still like running their vehicles. Nobody's concerned about this, right? And so I know that COVID has been difficult like the last 2 years, but seriously, people, suicide, not the answer. Okay? All these cars running, you don't know whose fumes are killing whom, so we're talking about assisted suicide now. Hey buddy, you kill me, I'll kill you. We'll in this nightmare together. But then I'm sure there's some unwilling participants there, right? So we've upgraded to a murder-suicide situation. That's not good. I get it though, we're trying to prevent the spread of COVID. It's admirable. But they're like, hey, why don't you get out of my face with your superfluous concerns with asphyxiation? Okay? We're concerned with COVID over here. We can't be distracted by your shenanigans with carbon monoxide. Everybody knows that global warming's not even real anyway. So, if you can believe it, I used to be normal. This was back before I studied engineering in college. Yeah, I got infected over there with Asperger's. All those engineers running around, I was bound to catch it at some point. Now my wife has to tell me when my autism is flaring up. So that's not good either. But I think Asperger's is a lot like herpes. Once you caught it, you are stuck with it for the rest of your life. You got all these unexpected flare-ups you have to deal with. I had a flare-up the other day. Not with herpes, it was the Asperger's. So I ran into this former coworker. I'm asking him how he's doing. And he's like, oh yeah, pretty good, except I just got diagnosed with diabetes. And I just laugh in his face. Because in my brain, I'm thinking, of course you have diabetes, you fat fuck. You look like a younger version of Wilford Brimley before they recruited him for Liberty Medical. So, besides the autism that I have in my life, sometimes people tell me I look like a superhero, which is flattering, right? But I think I really just look like a less fat version of Jay Leno. You see this dagger of a chin I've got here? So, but I do have a superpower. It's dog sniffing. Like, what does that even mean? Dog sniffing? Is he a superhero? Don't you dare assume my identity, okay? There's superheroes, supervillains. We're called super people, okay? Don't just assume that I'm loyal helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. Carry the one. Okay, I think that's all of them. I'm also an Eagle Scout. Okay? I'm sorry, what's that? No, I don't have time to discuss my Eagle project, okay? So back to dog sniffing. I've observed dogs over the years, and I've perfected their sniffing technique. Right? It always starts off slow, like they're investigating something. Then they get excited. It speeds up. They like what they're smelling. So with superpowers, you have to develop those over time. They don't just happen overnight. You gotta practice. I figure what better place to practice dog sniffing than at church during a prayer. I dog sniff my wife all the time. I don't even care. She loves it. So one day I was running late to Sunday school, walk in the classroom, scan the back row where we normally sit. She's not back there, but she is up in the front row. A little weird, but I'm gonna go with it because she's my wife. I sit down, the prayer starts, and I'm like, it's dog sniff time. So I get real deep in her shoulder. I'm pretty committed at this point. And I just go to town. But then her body just goes stiff. That's not supposed to happen. I have a little moment of panic when I realize that this is not my wife. It's like those dreams you have, you're like naked at school and you're like, man, how did I get here? Like what decisions did I make this morning that got me to this point in my life? But you just wake up. It's just a dream. This was not a dream. It was not even a nightmare, which I would have welcomed at this point. But let me take a drink. Oh, that's so good. Root beer. Feeling crazy tonight. So, I can't apologize to this woman because the prayer is still going on. That would be inappropriate, right? She's also Hispanic. English is not her first language, which is fine because I speak Spanish. Hermana, lo siento, es que pensé que eras mi esposa. I'm so embarrassed. I just want to die. And I'm still reeling from the shock of what I just did. And so now I'm thinking, what is going through this girl's head? Her husband is actually sitting on the other side of her. I'm the third wheel at this point. So she's like, what is up with this white boy? He has the audacity, first of all, to just sit right next to me while I'm here with my husband at church. And then he waits for everybody's eyes to close so that he can make his move on me during the prayer. So then I'm wondering, where is my wife in all of this? Has she just been behind me this entire time, watching all of this unfold? Now she's just staring daggers at me, preparing the divorce papers back there. So, what do I do? Do I just get up and run away, not look back? Maybe I could just go start a new life somewhere, up in the hills maybe. I do have the Wilderness Survival Merit Badge, after all. My other option, I could just stand my ground. Right? I just apologize to the girl. What else does she want from me, So, my wife eventually does come in. Yeah, she comes to the door, she sits down next to me, and now I'm mad at her, right? Where have you been? Do you have any idea what your tardiness has caused in my life right now? So I muster up the courage to tell her what I just did. I'm bracing myself for the inevitable divorce. And she thinks it's hilarious. She starts laughing uncontrollably. She's 8 months pregnant at this point, and her pregnant body is just shaking with laughter. She's shaking our baby. That's where I have to cut it off, right? You need to stop laughing right now. We're at church. This is inappropriate. Ridiculous. So I know some of you probably want to give me the benefit of the doubt. Maybe I just got bad vision. I just didn't have my glasses that day. I have amazing vision. It's so good. That couple never came back to church ever again. So superhero, supervillain, super autistic, I'll let you decide. So I did learn Spanish while I was in Spain. I lived out there for a couple years. Everybody knows that learning a new language, the most important thing, swear words, right? You got to know what people are saying about you. Which makes me wonder, what are the worst things we can say to people in English? I think it really just centers around the fuck word, right? It's really versatile grammatically speaking. It can be a verb, adverb, adjective, noun, pronoun, whatever. I think our go-to is just a simple fuck you. It's not flashy, but it's a reliable classic. We got options with this guy too, right? We can always throw up that middle finger. But we can't agree on what we call this either, right? That guy just flicked me off? No, he flipped you off. Sorry, what? Yeah, he gave you the bird. So at work, you're heading back to the break room with your buddy, telling him, hey, you're not going to believe this, but Johnny from accounting flipped me off. Oh yeah? How did he do it? What do you mean, how did he do it? Does that even matter? Oh, it matters. He gives you the middle finger just by itself. You got nothing to worry about, just a lone wolf. Throws that thumb in there though. Ooh, it's all over. He's got himself a sidekick now. They're an irrebuttable pair. They'll be coming after your kids next. Irrebuttable? Yeah. Incapable of being rebutted? It's like you don't have a comeback? You're getting caught up on the wrong thing here, okay? So what's the deal with the thumb anyway? You know, it reminds me of my son. He's trying to rock out to this song. He's headbanging, right? He's got that thumb out. I'm like, Jack, that is not the idea, but I love you too, buddy. So driving, right? Your only option is the middle finger when you're driving in a limited pool of provocations. Except everybody that uses this, they act like they were the creative genius that championed the gesture. They follow it up with that maniacal look of self-satisfaction. Got him. I like to infuriate these people even further and respond to them with a smile and a thumbs up, maybe even a wink. So now they think that I think that we just became best friends. And that middle finger they just threw up, just their way of saying, you're number one in my book. That's why they use the big finger, right? So, let's see. What else do I got? I was a missionary for my church out in Spain when I was out there, right? And there was a certain Elder Smith that I worked with out there. Not Joseph, okay? This guy was super annoying. He had that face, you just knew instantly that you weren't going to like him. And he was always trying to talk to me in Spanish, never mind the fact that we were both fluent in English. And so he knew about this rule that they have in Spanish, where if you want to make a word bigger, you can just add the letters O-N on the end of it. But it doesn't always work out. You got to be careful. For example, fish is base, right? Turns into beson. Well, that just means nipple. How about ladybug? Mariquita turns into maricon. Well, that's just an offensive word to gay people, so you got to watch out. So Elder Smith, he decides to use this out one time when we're having dinner with a bunch of us missionaries. We're eating chicken and rice. He says to the guy across from him, Elder, usted tiene un gran pollón. So what he was trying to say was, hey, Elder, you got a pretty big piece of chicken over there, and I think that's pretty neat. What he actually said was, hey, Elder, you got a pretty big piece of... You actually have a really fat dick. And I think that's pretty neat. So after I finished serving as a missionary, I ended up getting married, right? And they say that marriage is a lot like a roller coaster. You got all the ups and downs, but I think marriage is more like high stakes gambling. Right? When you're up, you're up. When you're down, you are way down. And they end about the same, too. Divorce, suicide, and in some cases, murder. Now, that's my third reference to suicide tonight. That's probably why my kids are so obsessed with talking about death. I don't know, what do you do? So, I've been married for 11 years now. I got 2 kids. Thank you. Yeah, some people are like, they tell me like, does that make you like 13 when you got married? Well, asshole, I was 15, okay? I had to get emancipated to make it legal. So naturally, I'm into cougars, right? One of us had to be an adult to make this work out. So there's a 6-year gap between my wife and I, which could be awkward for some people, but for us, it was fine. We knew each other for years before we got married, due to the fact that she was my babysitter. Yeah, right? It's great, too, because now she already has my nap schedule figured out. She knows how I like my PB&J. And I already have my parents' approval of her. But don't get me wrong, there's downsides, right? I have to ask for permission anytime I want screen time. And then my parents, they still have to pay her for her time, or else she won't even hang out with me. So we're Latter-day Saints. A lot of you know us as the Mormons. I naturally get a lot of questions about polygamy. So I'm not a polygamist, but my dad is. Wives on wives. That's what he's got. Wow. That's what we call it. So you think kids with gay parents have it rough because they got like 2 dads, right? You can't call them both dad. That's just confusing. Well, why don't you try keeping it straight with 4 moms? No pun intended there. So what do you call them all? Well, let's see. There's Mama Bear, Mama Prime, Charlene, and Ghost Mom. Yeah, she was never there for me, so I just pretend like she doesn't exist. More like Ghost Bitch. Hate her. So my dad, he gets a lot of action with all of these women in his life. I'm really proud of him. He told me one day, yeah, it's a lot like whack-a-mole, but I'm thinking, it's more like pack-a-hole, right? If you think that's weird, I want you to know that he keeps balance in his life. Every time they start the event, they have an opening prayer. No big deal. I do got to tell you, though, my dad is not actually a polygamist. I got to put that disclaimer out there. But he has been married 4 separate times. I guess he missed out on the polygamous training camps. So what do you do? All right, that's my time tonight. Thank you. I appreciate all your today.
All right, Matt Houston, everybody. All right, he's like the dirtiest Mormon ever, right? He said, bitch. I feel like some of you that know him laughed just because he said that. So I think that's great. You guys are fucking great.